I want to talk about something today that's really important to me and actually is like very close to home for me as well. So right from the jump, I want to invite you to leave comments and questions and kind of further this conversation. And parents, educators, kids, we can talk about experiences maybe and see if there's anything else we can add to this conversation. Instead of this just being some sort of monologue, it becomes a dialogue. 1991, I enter high school. I decide not to go to my neighborhood high school because I want to go to a vocational school. Upon arriving there, I realized a couple of things. One, I am the minority in that school. Growing up, I went to a school that was not very diverse. Everyone looked like me. Everyone's parents made about the same amount of money. Everyone came from about the same background. When I got to high school, it was much, much different, and I found myself in the minority for the first time in my life, which wasn't bad in and of itself. It's just that as a freshman in high school, when you know absolutely no one in school, the last thing you want to do is stand out. And I did. I stood out. I was about as white bread suburban as they come. And to go into a school where I didn't look like anyone and everyone was a lot tougher than I was a challenge for me as a freshman. Turns out that the school that I went to was like a lot of kids where they ended up getting kicked out of regular high school. They would send these kids there to learn a trade. I didn't know this. I got there. It was a little bit difficult. My first day of school, hearing that a kid got thrown through a window. I remember going to the bathroom and there was a fight in there, one. Two, there were no mirrors on any of the walls in the bathroom. None of the stalls had doors. And I later found out this is because kids got in fights all the time. Before I went into lunch, I had to show my ID because apparently the year before, a kid came in with a pipe bomb and threw it in a trash can and blew up the trash can in the middle of the lunchroom. And I remember getting my lunch tray on that first day, waiting in line, walking out to the lunchroom, and I knew no one. And I had no clue where to sit. And it was terrifying and utterly embarrassing. Freshman year and sophomore year were really tough. I got bullied every single day. And when I say bullied, I mean I either got into a fight or got my ass kicked every single day. I was harassed constantly, and I just could not find my group. I couldn't find my tribe in school to even feel a part of something. Sophomore year, which is 1992, we have the LA riots that break out after the Rodney King trial, after the cops all got off, and there's a lot of racial tension in my school. One day I'm walking out the back of my school to go to my bus, and my friend is about 20 feet in front of me. We notice going through the doors, there is a legit riot happening behind the school. Friend walks out the door, someone walks by with a pipe, cracks them over the head, and I immediately turn back around and go back into school and call my mom and tell her that she has to come pick me up because there's no way I'm getting on the bus. The wife's laughing that I left my friend. Yeah, I left my friend. I was skinnier than a dead model, man. I wasn't gonna run around trying to fight people. I didn't come from that neighborhood. I came from the neighborhood where you had a problem with someone, you called them out and met at the park at 3 o'clock.
We're gonna have a fight today after school. 3 o'clock in the parking lot. You try and run, I'm gonna track you down.
You didn't get in some random fight in the hallway or beat somebody up in the bathroom out of nowhere. So that was a tumultuous 2 years. My sophomore year, I finally found people that I connected with and I made friends, and I ended up having a really great time that last 2.5 years at that high school. Now, I never liked school, but I really liked my friends and I had a good enough time. All right, fast forward about 200 years and I am in a different role, but still back as a freshman in high school. I am a 9th grade teacher of English in Camden, New Jersey. And on that first day, I immediately thought of all the kids that were the little me's that were coming to that school on that first day. The kids that were worried because they didn't know anyone. The kids that were afraid they were going to get bullied. The kids that weren't super good or super bad. They were somewhere in the middle and they flew right under the radar to the point where no one ever asked them about their day. No one ever asked them who they were. No one ever put a hand on their shoulder and asked how they were doing. All of these kids were running through my mind on that first day of school. And I knew that I was in a different position now to actually do something about that. And so this is the perspective I want to talk about today real quick, is what do teachers do about bullying? We've all sat through those PDs. We've all gotten the pamphlets. We've had to look at the websites. We've done the training about what to do about bullying. But there's a couple of things that I do as a teacher now that I think might benefit you, teachers and parents. On the first day of school, every single year, I'm out front of the school greeting the kids as they walk in. And this does a couple of things. One, it makes me public. I want to be as public a figure as I can be in school. Meaning, I want everyone to know that I exist so that even the kids that I don't teach start knowing my face and seeing me around the school and becoming more comfortable with the sight of me in school. It also lets me greet all of my homies that are coming back that year, letting them know I'm excited, and letting them know that even though I'm not your teacher again this year, I'm still pumped and I'm still excited to see, and I still excited for you when you start this school year. The other thing this is going to allow me to do is, as I'm shaking hands and hugging guys that I've taught before that are coming into the school, the new students, the incoming freshmen, are seeing me with these older guys, the ones that are respected, the ones that they are going to ultimately look up to if they don't already. And they're going to see me shaking hands with those dudes, and that just looks favorable upon me. It's like a little boost for who I am, which is going to all come in handy in a moment. The second thing I'm going to do on that first day is I'm going to greet every single person as they walk into my classroom. I will shake every single hand of every kid that walks into that classroom. And then, as my introduction, I'm not going to give them a bunch of rules and procedures on the first day, or have them fill out questions about themselves, or do get to know you games, which I think are all really great. But I really like that first day to tell the kids how excited I am, to tell them a little bit about who I am, why I'm there, and how pumped I am to be their teacher, and how I'm hoping to have the greatest year ever. I then tell those students that they are constantly welcome in my room. They can come in before school and have breakfast in my room. They can come in during their study halls if they have a period off. They can eat lunch with me every single day, and they can come in after school and hang for as long as they wish, or at least until I have to leave. This does a number of things too. I want my room to be known as a safe space, that kids can come in there even when they're not in class, because that's what's going to allow you, those are the moments that are going to allow you to connect with students and build relationships with them when you're not in the classroom, when you're not needing to be on task or sitting quietly or working. So the more I can get that across to those kids, the better. So my room becomes a safe place, and those incoming freshmen are going to see all those older guys that are constantly in my room talking with me about any number of things. And the last thing that I'm trying to do before they leave my room is I let the kids know, if you need help with anything, you forget your locker combination, you're lost in the school, you don't understand your schedule, you don't know what time you're supposed to have lunch, anything at all, just come in at any time, even if you interrupt my class, and just let me know that you have a question or that you're lost, because that's going to build trust with those kids. And if I can talk to you about those little things, that's going to help when you have a more serious problem later down the line. You'll know how easy I am to talk to, and that I'm approachable as well. Now, the thing that can get kind of weird is I realize that it's weird sometimes when you're in your room by yourself and there's a kid in there and you're the only two in the room, and schools look down upon things like that. So I try and build a culture where I'm not the only person in my room ever. So this many years in, I always have kids that want to eat lunch with me, more kids than I can actually let into my room. Every Monday morning we have meetings. We either have, depending on the television series that we're watching, it's either a Game of Thrones meeting, a Walking Dead meeting, or Fear the Walking Dead meeting, which I'm a little bit embarrassed about because that show's not very good. But regardless, if kids like those shows, then that also gives them something to show up with on Monday to be excited about, and we already have something to talk about too. So we don't just have to shoot from the hip to kind of come up with something to talk about. You can do this with sports or all kinds of other stuff, but Reynolds doesn't watch sports because you know what? You spend enough time in right field, you don't care about sports anymore. Now on the second day of school, I'm in the hallway. In the beginning of the day, I'm at my door between every single period and after school, and I'm also in the lunchroom. And this is very strategic. I want to know who's sitting by themselves and where could they sit, right? So like I'll look at a kid, and if they're sitting by themselves, one year I had a student that hid behind the wrestling mats. I found him sitting by himself, and he just wanted privacy and he didn't want to be bothered. But hiding out behind the wrestling mats is no place for a human being. So I didn't want to approach him and be like, see the teacher going over to the kid that didn't have anywhere to sit. So instead, I found some guys that I really, really like, that I think are just upstanding young men. And I said, could you please do me a favor and go ask that kid if he can sit at your table? If he says no, let me know. But if he says yes, just let him sit there. You don't have to be his friend. I don't even care if you necessarily talk to him, because he might want to just be quiet. He might just be introverted, and that's fine, but it gives him a place to belong. It gives him a sense that he can sit somewhere and feel comfortable about it, instead of hiding out somewhere and not feeling comfortable about it. If that doesn't work and someone reports back to me that the kid didn't want to sit with them, then I might go and say, hey man, do you know my classroom is open this period? You don't have to talk to me. You can listen to your music. You can play a game on your phone. You can work on homework. You could go to sleep if you want to. You could bring your lunch up to my room and just chill there. And I think this works even if kids aren't eating in your room. So I realize that some schools are not going to let kids eat in your room. If you can build a community in your room of kids that are just being quiet, just chilling out, that is even better than having a room of madness sometimes too, because you might not be into that either. So create the expectations. The students that eat in your room, they know that it's quiet time. If you need private time so you can get your work done, then use that also. But this is going to give you a perfect opportunity to get to know students, to ask them about movies and music and TV shows that they like, that you can have a conversation with them about, which is all, again, just building their comfortability with you and letting you become someone that they just talk to on the regular. So if they need you for something bigger, they can always come back to you again. So ongoing stuff for the rest of the year. I'm in the hallway between every class, and this is what I'm doing. I'm listening to what's being talked about. Number one, right? Kids will say everything in the hallway. You don't even have to be eavesdropping, because they're gonna tell you what party was lit on Friday night, who got in trouble, who maybe got arrested, who got caught by their parents, who cheated on who. It's all public knowledge. It's like a gossip column that's public knowledge. And this allows you to know some of the stuff that's going on. Good stuff, funny stuff, and stuff that you should be on the lookout for, because your radar is always up when you are a teacher. Maybe someone was getting teased. Maybe you heard somebody put gum in someone else's hair. It doesn't matter what it is, but your radar is up so that you can address the situation if necessary. And when you build your reputation and become someone that's trustworthy and that the kids can talk to you about just about anything, you have more of an opportunity to talk to kids about things that really, really matter, like stuff that's going on at home maybe, or a breakup that they had, or that their best friend is mad at them. Here's one thing you can never do as a teacher. Remember this. You can't discount what kids are going through. Everyone takes things a different way. And when you're 14, 15 years old, you have no scar tissue. Henry Rollins once talked about if when you break up with your girlfriend when you're 14, you're like writing love songs about it, you're depressed for months. You know, if you're 40 and you break up with your girlfriend, it might not be that big of a deal. But when you're 15, everything's fresh and it's right under the surface. So take those things seriously and just check in with kids. I think adults often forget what it was like to be a teenager sometimes, and it just seems annoying when it's really, really important to them. The other thing I'm doing while I'm in that hallway as well is I'm saying hi to every single kid that I can, right? And sometimes that's jokingly, and sometimes I'm being funny, and sometimes I'm being serious, but I try and gauge the kid and know how to greet them. And what that does is it lets every kid be seen. I don't care if you have thousands of students at your school, you can still do this. When you're standing in the hallway and you're just saying, "What's up? Nice shirt. Yo, I dig that jacket. Yo, got a fresh new haircut. Yo, what music are you listening to right now?" And if kids are kind of like awkward and walking down the hallway slowly, I just take out my microphone and start interviewing them and ask them things like, "How's it feel to be late to class every single day?" Or I'll tell them, if you walk any slower, you might actually start going backwards. These are all just playful interactions to let the kids know that I see you and that you matter. Remember, the kids that get the most attention are either the really good kids who try really hard or the kids that are always in trouble. Those kids in the middle need people to know that they are seen as well. So just a quick hand on the shoulder or "What's up?" or "Hey man, how you doing?" That stuff goes a really long way because someone saw you today. Here's the last thing I really want to talk about is what do you do when someone is getting bullied? When they do come and tell you someone is bullying them, or you witness someone is bullying them. The first thing I would tell you to do is tell someone in administration and tell a counselor. Because if something happens, God forbid something happens, if you're not held liable for that, or if you don't get in trouble for that, it's gonna crush you, right? So if you find out that a kid gets beat up really bad after school and you didn't tell administration, it's gonna crush you. But another thing that I do, and I'm not telling everyone to do this, right? Figure out if this is right for you. I always address the situation with the bullies. I love having those conversations with kids that are the actual bullies, the ones that are being aggressive towards another student, and that can look like a couple of different things. What I need to do is gauge the student and see what kind of individual that I'm talking to. Sometimes I just come off as, I'll be very patient and I'll say, "Here's what I heard. I'm not sure what to think of this, but I would like to ask you about it and see if we can talk about this." Instead of just like punching them in the face with guilt, right? I don't want to do that. I want to just be calm and listen to their side of the story as well. Other kids, I might just act really disappointed in and say, "Hey man, I heard that this happened. And I gotta tell you, I'm really disappointed that someone like you, with your character and your ability, would do something like that. It really hurts my feelings. It makes me think like I thought I knew you and I guess I don't. The other thing I might do is just come down hard on a kid. If I know who that student is and I know who their parents are and I think we already have a connection, I might just snap on them and let them have it, because kids don't often see that side of me. They usually just see me being silly or funny or caring. And so when I'm pissed off, that really has an effect on students. Okay, not sure where we were. My memory card filled up and I couldn't shoot anymore. Plus the sun was going down. So here I am the next day. I'm back again. I have one last quick thought to leave with you. When you're having a conversation with a kid who is a bully, when you're having a conversation, if you care to engage with kids that are either getting bullied or bullying, I think most folks would be more likely to naturally want to build up the kid that was getting bullied and not the bully. But I'm going to argue that both kids need to be built up. I think that everyone that's getting bullied, I think kids that are bullying need to be lifted up too. And here's why. Someone once said that everyone's fighting a battle that you know nothing about. If we take a step back and ask, why are bullies bullying? What is it that why are they acting the way that they're acting? And you know someone's story, you're going to be way more apt to act differently towards them and to care for them, to show them a little bit of compassion and patience. It doesn't mean you have to be soft, and it doesn't mean you have to back down from holding them accountable from the way that they've acted. But at the same time, I think you can have compassion for someone and show them a little bit of kindness, because that, in my experience, has changed kids a lot. When kids think you're going to just come at them and lecture them or yell at them, and then you speak calmly to them and tell them how great you think they actually are and how you think they're acting out of their anger or out of their fear, and instead you think that they have more than that to offer, that goes a long way with students. The hard part about that, though, is it has to be an ongoing thing. Because if someone's hearing in one ear how bad they are, how much they suck, how they don't live up to someone's expectations, how much of a piece of crap they are, you have to constantly be in their other ear every single day saying, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so happy that you came to school. I noticed the things that you're doing. You brought a pen to class, you brought your homework to class. That was a really funny joke. I saw the way you helped that individual. Constantly in that other ear, you have to be spewing positivity and love to that student. And that will change someone that's a bully into someone who is a good, healthy part of the school community. So a quick recap of this is make sure that you're connecting with students wherever you can, whether that's in the hallway, you're out there before school, during school, after school, you're inviting kids to eat lunch with you, or you're trying to find a point in which you think there's a natural connection between you and the kids. Also, just be mindful of what's going on around your school. Have your teacher radar on and you're listening to all things all the time and trying to get a sense of like who might be in trouble, or a hand on the shoulder, or a nice note on a post-it note written on their desk when they come in that day. I realize this topic can spawn a lot of comments and a lot of questions. Please go ahead and leave those below. I'd love to have a dialogue about this and to work some of this stuff out. I realize there's also things like cyberbullying. I realize that there's, bullying is not always straight bullying. Sometimes it's just light teasing. I realize that there's hazing out there and there's all these other kind of like subtopics or things that go along with this. Let's start that conversation here and we can have that and work some things out so that we can be the teachers that we need to be for the kids when we go back to school. Thanks for checking this out, guys. Peace.